Happy Tuesday. Pre-K, we're going to do our sight word first. Today is Tuesday. On Tuesday, we like to rhyme our sight word. Does anybody remember what it is? I'll help you. N-O-W. Now. Okay. Some words that sound like now. I just picked a few, but if they rhyme, they will sound the same at the end of the word. Now the ones today are also spelled the same at the end of the word. Sometimes, like some of the words we did last week, they didn't look the same, but they sound the same. So, now, how? Now, wow. Now, cow. Now, pow. All right? How, wow, cow, pow. Do you think we can make a silly sentence with that? How about the cow went wow because she knew how to pow. That's pretty silly. We could do something in there. Let's see. The cow went pow. And how, I don't know how. I'm not sure about that one. Maybe if you think of one, you can put it on the school page, the school Facebook page. There is a very old little rhyme that goes, how now, brown cow? We could say wow to that. Maybe the cow is a ninja cow and can go pow. Okay? Anyway, now. And we talked also yesterday, now is a time word. It's about an amount of time. Now, right this minute, this is now. We had before, and we'll have after. Before this, you were doing something else. Now, you are watching my video. After, maybe you'll have lunch. Maybe you'll play. So, now we are going to go on with Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. We started this yesterday. We read chapter 1. Chapter 1 was Alice was just kind of out in the garden with her sister, and suddenly she saw a white rabbit. She followed him down a rabbit hole, and then she found little doors, and she had something that said drink me, something that said eat me, and she got little, she got big, but she wanted to get through the door because it led to a garden. So this is chapter 2. It's called A Pool of Tears. Curiouser and curiouser, cried Alice. I'm growing like a garden weed. She'd taken the one that said eat me. Goodbye, feet. In fact, she had sprouted up to over 9 feet high. She grabbed the little golden key off the table and hurried back to the garden door. Poor Alice. Now she was too big to fit through the door, and all she could do was lie down on one side and look through the garden, into the garden with one eye. She sat up and she began to cry. I ought to be ashamed. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, she said. Crying like this, stop it right now. But she went on, shedding gallons of tears until there was a large pool around her, about 4 inches deep and reaching halfway down the hall. She heard a little pattering of feet in the distance, and she quickly dried her tears to see what was coming. It was the White Rabbit, all dressed up, with a pair of white gloves in one hand and a large fan in the other. He was in a great hurry, and he was muttering to himself, oh, the Duchess, oh, she will be angry if I keep her waiting. Alice was desperate for help, so she decided to see if the rabbit might have some ideas. She said in a very timid voice, "If you please, sir." So we have two really good pictures here. There's Alice all scrunched up in the hall because she grew so big, sitting in her tears. And here we have the rabbit. He is all dressed up in his fancy coat with his fan, and he is wading through the pool of tears that Alice has made. Do you think he's going to help her? The rabbit was startled. He dropped the white gloves and the fan and scurried away into the darkness as fast as he could go. "Oh, now what am I going to do?" she sighed. So Alice put the key on the table. She picked up the fan and the gloves. Since the hall was very hot, she fanned herself. "Who in the world am I?" she said. "I'm sure I'm not Ada or Mabel. Oh my, do I still remember all my school lessons?" And then she practiced her math and geography, which all came out wrong. "Everything's so different, and I'm so different," she said, and she was very confused. As she was talking, she looked down, and she saw that she had put on one of the little gloves. "Wait," she said. "How did I put on this glove? I must be growing small again. But how?" She had been cooling herself with the rabbit's fan, and suddenly she realized that the fanning was making her grow smaller and smaller. She dropped the fan just in time. "That was close," said Alice, frightened at the sudden change, but very glad that she was still in one piece. "Oh, the garden." She ran as fast as she could back to the little door. But the little door was shut again, and the little golden key was lying on the glass table just like before. This is getting very difficult, isn't it? There's Alice. She's fanning herself with the little fan, and there's the little gloves that the rabbit dropped. Oh, here we have some really good illustrations. Now she's short enough that the key is way up there on the table again. She keeps shrinking and growing. What are we going to do with Miss Alice? Suddenly, she slipped. Splash! There she was, up to her chin, in tears. She had fallen into the pool, which she had cried when she was 9 feet high. "I wish I hadn't cried so much," said Alice as she swam around, trying to find a way out. "I hope I don't drown in my own tears." Just then she heard something splashing in the pool, and she swam toward it. At first she thought it was a walrus or a hippopotamus, but then she remembered how small she was and saw that it was only a mouse. "I wonder if I can speak to this mouse. There's no harm in trying," thought Alice. So she said, "Oh, mouse, do you know a way out of this pool?" The mouse looked at her and seemed to her to wink with one of its little eyes, but it said nothing. "Oh, perhaps it doesn't understand English," thought Alice. "Maybe it's a French mouse." So she said, "Où est ma chat?" My French is not very good. Which means, "Where is my cat?" The mouse jumped out of the water and fell back in, shaking with fright. "Oh, I'm so sorry," cried Alice. "I forgot you don't like cats." So there's Alice trying to talk to the mouse in the water. The pool of her tears. Would that be something? She must be very tiny. "Not like cats," cried the mouse. "Would you like cats if you were me?" The mouse was trembling down to the end of its tail. "Oh, I'm so sorry to have frightened you," said Alice. "Please don't swim away." "Let's get to the shore," replied the mouse, "and then I'll tell you why I hate cats." By this time, the pool was getting crowded with birds and animals that had fallen into it. There was a duck and a dodo, a lory and an eaglet, and several other strange creatures. Alice led the way, and all the creatures followed her to shore. And that's the end of chapter 2. What an adventure! Our next chapter, chapter 3, is a caucus race and a long tail. I have no idea what's going to happen next because I haven't read this in a really long time. So we'll find out tomorrow. The original person that made up these words, his name is Lewis Carroll. I think we talked about that yesterday. Then there's somebody that took his original story and made it so we could read it. Her name is Debbie Guthrie, and the person that drew the pictures, his name is Jason Alexander. So it took the work of all three of them to make this book so we could read it. I hope you have a great afternoon. I will see you tomorrow.